values of this country. What steps are you taking to make sure that your ICE agents are not masked and properly identified when they approach someone?
Well, ICE agents always identify themselves to individuals that they're encountering or that they're working with. What I would say, as far as if they are wearing something over their faces, it's oftentimes because that agent has been involved in undercover operations or needs to be able to continue the investigative work that they do on a day to day
But don't you think,
basis.
but don't you
And
think,
there's
Madam Secretary, that people have a right to see whoever's trying to apprehend them? I think it's creating this unrealistic vigilante system. And are you aware that your materials, ICE agents, jackets, and the sorts are available on Etsy for 20 bucks? Anybody can do that, throw a mask on, and run around and terrorizing people of color without any regard for the law, without any regard, because your agency does not have proper protocols to make sure their agents are clearly identified and marked when they're executing their jobs.
Our agents do identify themselves. Verbally do that, and then also by the clothing that they're wearing. And if they do have something that is covering some of their facial features, it's for their investigative work or their undercover work that they do as a part of their job duties as well. What I would say is that it is important that we follow the procedures and protocols for every encounter that we have, and they have done that in every situation to the best of my knowledge.
I would suggest that your protocols need to be revised because I don't think it's reasonable for masked men to be apprehending people on the street.
I mean, bullshit. But you saw the pictures that the Representative Johnson was holding. That's Representative Julie Johnson talking to Kristi Noem during the Homeland Security Committee meeting this week. Ask her very simple questions. Why are your men and women wearing masks to apprehend people in the streets? And you've seen me talk about this before you follow the show. It's like, it looks like Baghdad to me. Oh, I served downrange. You know, men hiding their faces and scooping people off the streets. You would never, if you blink your eyes, you'd never know you're in the United States. And Kristi Noem saying, oh, well, it's because they're undercover. Really? Undercover is the issue? It's because they're undercover? That's not the case, okay? Well, let's see some undercover work here.
Get off of her! You cannot push it! You cannot hold this! You can't push members of Congress! Get off of her!
Okay, Ron? It's no signal. Take them
Don't talk here! What is that? You are escalating this situation!
Yeah, okay. Did you see the guy in full uniform, full HSI uniform, looking like a soldier from the streets? I mean, that's the other thing. He's standing in Newark, New Jersey at a privately run detention facility, masked. And most of the people in the crowd there that grabbed the Mayor Barack, off the street. And by the way, we've since seen that he was actually invited through the fence and then arrested. The complete lies. But they're hiding their faces because they're undercover. What fucking horseshit is that? They're not undercover. They're doing it because they know they're doing the wrong thing, and they don't want people to know it. It's the same reason you have anonymous accounts on Twitter who call us Nazis and then do Nazi shit themselves. It's because it's a lie, okay? And this is all part of all the cabinet secretaries appearing on Capitol Hill this week and talk. It did not go well for Kristi Noem, as you can see. She is lying. And here we go again. And I want to see this clip. I want you to watch this clip of her talking to Representative Seth Magaziner of Rhode Island, asked about the deportation and detention of Andrea Hernandez, a gay makeup artist from Venezuela who was denied any connection to Tren de Agua. He had 2 tattoos. Well, here's the congressman.
Graph here of Andrea Hernandez Romero, a gay makeup artist from Venezuela. He fled Venezuela fearing gang violence because of his opposition to the Maduro dictatorship and his sexual orientation. He presented himself at a port of entry and requested asylum. His claim was found to be credible, and he was placed in detention to await a full hearing. But he never received a full hearing because you put him on one of those planes to El Salvador, where he still is today. Listen to me. He had no criminal record in the United States or in any other country. He did not even enter the country illegally. He presented at a port of entry. He tried to do it the legal way. And to this date, the only evidence your department has presented to justify his imprisonment is that he had 2 tattoos, one that said mom and one that said dad. Do you have any other evidence to present for why this individual should be locked up in El Salvador?
Sir, every case is used
You have
the
any,
same protocols and the same processes and
you,
input.
you have any evidence other than the tattoos that
officers
say mom or dad for why this
So
individual
it's not
should be
just
locked up?
tattoos. It's who they're affiliated with, their communication.
You have not
They're
presented
affiliated
any other evidence,
criminal
nor has your
activities.
department.
The case is
Reclaiming my time
exactly the
during
same
your
as
confirmation.
No evidence, because there is no evidence. And matter of fact, in that case, so what happened was Andrew was detained as he saw his asylum. He was put in a holding facility, and one of the guards who works for a private company, private detention company, said that he was a gang member from his tattoos. That guard is a guard at a private detention facility because he lost his job as a cop for lying about people they were arresting. That's the evidence. As far as people he associated with, he was in a jail. And this is who they are. The fact is, we predict this is going to happen. They're going to scoop up the people that are easiest first, the people who did it right, the people who are trying to do the right thing to come to our country. They need to meet these numbers because the first thing they did was they implemented a number they had to catch. So, of course, instead of trying to find randos, the criminals, no, they're going to find the people who did it right and get rid of them. And that's bad enough. But what makes it particularly evil, beyond masked men doing this, beyond the lies, beyond cosplay Barbie going around the country, what makes it truly evil is they're sending these men to an El Salvadoran prison to be locked up possibly forever until they die. And they did no crimes in any way whatsoever. That is as un-American as it comes. And we're going to talk about that. Luckily, I've got the perfect guest as always. It's actually Congressman Magaziner. He's going to join us shortly to talk about this moment, how important it is, his work trying to stop it, as well as his other work where he took over for our previous guest, Abigail Spanberger, on fighting for banning stock trading by a congressman and, of course, the budget. Got a lot to talk about. It's going to be a great show. I appreciate you being here as always. Let's get on with the show. Welcome. Still Fred Wellman. I was 15 seconds ago. Welcome back. It's great to be here. I mentioned in the intro, we've got a great show, a lot to discuss. We've got the guy you just saw in that last video, Congressman Seth Magaziner, is coming to us from Rhode Island. He is in his second term. Congratulations, sir. You just got reelected. And you, of course, had quite a day yesterday talking to Kristi Noem, didn't you, sir?
Yes. That it was a spirited conversation.
I mean, where do you even start with this stuff? I mean, you obviously focus quite heavily on the gentleman who was, deported with just no due process whatsoever. I mean, it's troubling to see. Something I joke about here on the show quite a bit, sir, is that due process is so important. It's mentioned twice in the Constitution, right? And it seems like they have no problem ignoring that when they can, don't they?
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, I've been on the Homeland Security Committee the whole time I've been in Congress, and I support more border security. I support more resources. We need a immigration system that is safe and fair and orderly. But what the Trump administration is doing and what DHS is doing under Kristi Noem's leadership is absolute chaos. It's illegal, a lot of what they're doing, and just plain wrong. And, it comes back to when she had her confirmation hearing, Kristi Noem, she said under oath that her focus was going to be on deporting people who had criminal convictions, who had been convicted of crimes, or had removal orders that had been ordered by a judge. But that's not what they've been doing. Like a majority, according to their own data, a majority of the people who they've detained under this administration had no criminal records at all. And so instead, what are they doing? They're deporting anyone that they can find just to bump up the numbers and make the numbers look good. But like they're deporting children with cancer, including U.S. citizen children who are in cancer treatment. They're deporting people who convicted no crimes. You referenced the story of Andrew Hernandez Romero. I mean, this guy is a gay makeup artist from Venezuela. Not only did he never commit any crime in the United States or in Venezuela, he also never entered the country illegally. He tried to come in the legal way. He presented himself at a port of entry outside of San Diego, said, "I'm here. I want to apply for asylum. Will you let me in?" And now he's sitting in a prison in El Salvador, which is not even his country. And he never entered the country the United States illegally or committed any crimes. So they're making mistakes. They're locking up innocent people in horrendous conditions. It doesn't make us safer. And yesterday, anytime we tried to ask Kristi Noem any substantive question, she just spoke in legalese with this sort of like dead eye look on her face, like a robot. And it was
Yep.
deeply frustrating.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch, and he just kept repeating. I mean, this, actually, Andrew had 2 tattoos that said "Mom and Dad." We know, I was digging into his case before we went on the air. He had 2 tattoos said "Mom and Dad" on it. I mean, it's incredibly ridiculous. And she kept saying, "Oh, but there's other things." And I saw what other things, right? There's no other things.
She couldn't say. Say. And the other one that'll be interesting, and I'm going to follow up with her, but like this will be interesting. The 4-year-old with cancer who is a U.S. citizen.
Right.
She said repeatedly that the mother had consented to having the 4-year-old deported with her, the mother who's not a citizen. Although the mother never had any criminal record, never did, was by all accounts, a productive member of our society. But regardless, Kristi Noem and the administration say that the mother consented to having the kid deported. I spoke to the lawyer of that family yesterday morning who said absolutely not. She never signed anything. She never said anything. Absolutely not. And Noem said under oath to me yesterday that she has documentation of consent. So let's see it. Like she said she would send it to me, and you better believe we're going to be following up.
Well, that seems to be the case here through all these things. And your colleagues, I showed a clip earlier of Representative Johnson talk about these masked men, scooping people up. And then I showed the video of the mayor of Newark being arrested by masked men, and the idea that they're protecting their identities because they're undercover. No, these guys are uniformed HLS, agents and ICE agents who just are hiding behind masks. I served in Iraq. I did 3 tours in Iraq, in 2 of them in Baghdad. Men in masks scooping people off the streets is not how it works, right? It shouldn't be working that way in the United States, and it's taking our country in a very dark way, isn't it? I mean, and it's being led by Noem's department doing these very dark things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, police departments all across the country, like any police department in any town of any of you anybody who's watching this show right now, like they have their badge numbers. They usually have their names on their uniform, and it's so if any officer abuses their authority, the member of the public can identify them and can make a complaint. And so the reason that they're telling these ICE agents to wear masks and not identify themselves is because they know that what they are ordering them to do may be illegal.
Yeah. Yeah. And they can cover their names up and get away from it all. I guess the bonding on that topic I like to touch is, and it came up, and it was probably to me that so many of your, like Eli Crane on your committee, support the idea of suspending habeas corpus. That's a terrifying slide too, that is falling onto your committee. Again, you guys are right in the center of it all. I mean, they do seem dead set on trying to find a way to get rid of one of our most basic principles of justice, isn't it?
Yeah, no, and so again, like just to go through the timeline here, they sent these planes to El Salvador, with 100+ people, including the makeup artist who we were talking about before.
Yep.
Sent them without any due process at all, no hearing before a judge, no ability to contact an attorney, nothing. The Supreme Court then ruled that they should not have done that. The Supreme Court said, in a conservative majority opinion, from now on, if you're going to deport people like that, you got to let them appear before a judge first. And so now the administration is saying, well, we'll just get rid of habeas corpus so that we don't have to do that. And like the whole reason we have due process in this country is to make sure that the government doesn't make a mistake and lock up an innocent person. And we demonstrated in this hearing yesterday that they have made mistakes and locked up innocent people. So, now I'm sure that if there were Trump administration people here, like they would argue, well, we've got such a backlog that if we have to put everybody in front of a judge, it'll just take too long. Hire more judges. We
Right.
Democrats have been pushing for years for more funding to hire more immigration judges. The Republicans have blocked that funding. But like, yeah, by all means, hire more judges so you can process people faster. But like, again, the whole reason that due process has existed from the very founding of our republic is so that innocent people don't get accidentally or purposefully locked up.
Yep. And the only twist, the terrifying twist is, it's not just one thing to deport them to their home country. That's bad enough. but they're sent into a prison, a third world torture prison, where the dictator down there has no intention of ever letting them go. It is the most bizarre. It's terrifying to me, the idea you can ship somebody to a third world prison with no out for them. There's no departure for them. There's no process once they arrive there. I mean, until they die. I mean, it's so classically un-American and frankly authoritarian. I hardly recognize our country sometimes.
The whole, like, everything that they are doing, sending people to foreign prisons, talking about getting rid of habeas corpus, all of this is their attempt to do an end run around the Constitution and ignore the Constitution that they swore an oath to uphold. And it's wrong. We got to call it out. And this is why, like, the American people are turning against this administration, because they don't like the lawlessness.
Yeah, and there's no question about that. At the same time, you've been very involved. You're leading the pack. And you're one of the leaders of trying to stop, ban stock trading. You got a background in finance. I mean, I was looking at the bio. I was like, you were an investment guy before. I mean, but this, I'm not necessarily sure I would expected you to be one of the guys saying, "Hey, we should ban stock trading. I did it for a living." Why are you so passionate about this issue and driving the train on trying to ban stock trading for members of Congress?
Because nothing drives me crazy more than corruption. Like that is,
There you go. Yeah.
it's as an American,
Yeah.
and so I am furious about the corruption coming out of the Trump administration. The airplane from Qatar and the deals with the Saudis and all of that. But before Trump even took office, I was passionate about this issue of banning members of Congress from trading stocks. It's wrong for two reasons. Number one, as members of Congress, we have access to inside information that other members of the public don't, like what might be in a bill or not in a bill that could have an impact on a company's stock price. And it is fundamentally unfair for members of Congress to be able to trade off of information that other members of the public don't. It's illegal, but the opportunity is there, and I think we all know that people in Congress probably have done it, right? On the other reason is, like, just more fundamentally, when we decide how to vote, whether to vote for or against a bill, we should be voting based on what we think is the right thing for the country, not what's best for our investment portfolios.
Right.
So, I came in to Congress 2 years ago. The leader on this issue for years had been Abigail Spanberger from Virginia.
Yeah.
And I went up to her, and it was the first bill that I signed on to co-sponsor as a member of Congress. And when she decided not to run for re-election because she's running for governor in Virginia instead, I asked her if I could take over the bill, and she agreed. And now we're off to the races, and we've got some real momentum now, I think.
Well, and it's bipartisan, which is a really rare thing these days. I mean, I think you spoke last night after the regular business hours, and you did. You had members of both sides at the bill. I mean, I can't remember the last time we had everybody together. What's driving your peers from the other side of the aisle to join you on this mission?
Yeah, this has been a really fun project because, so much of what we're having to do right now in Congress is just like fight back against all the terrible things Republicans are trying to do, the cuts to Medicaid, the cuts to SNAP, just all of it. But to have this project be a truly bipartisan one is great. So my co-lead on the bill is Chip Roy from Texas, the Freedom Caucus guy, who we are opposite on like everything else. We agree on this. And we've got a work group a bipartisan work group of 7 of us that are like working together to really push the bill. And it's just incredibly ideologically diverse. You've got Chip Roy, Tim Burchett, Brian Fitzpatrick, all Republicans. You've got AOC and Pramila Jayapal and myself and Joe Morelli. Like, we've got left, right, and middle, like everybody. But the exciting thing is this issue has been kicking around for years.
Yeah.
But in the last month, we all of a sudden have a lot of momentum, and like everybody's talking about it now. A few weeks ago, Hakeem Jeffries came out in favor. He was the first leader of either party in either chamber to come out for it. A few days after that, Trump said that he would sign it. And just yesterday, Mike Johnson, the speaker, finally came out and said that he supports the concept too. So we want to continue to capitalize on this momentum. It's great that the speaker said that he supports it. Now he needs to give us a vote.
Yeah, and that's a remarkable change of how things have gone. Do you think that's being driven by the corruption we're seeing? I mean, is there a sense that maybe some of your peers are saying, wait a minute, I mean, it is naked corruption. I mean, but like you were saying a minute ago, like the nakedness of it between the crypto schemes and the gifts from, it is just so over the top. I mean, there has to be a point where even Republicans are like, I don't want to get, because the brush is going to get painted very broadly, isn't it?
For sure. I mean, I think a lot of the recent buzz started around the tariffs, right? Trump announced these tariffs, and
Yeah.
every other day he was kind of moving them up or moving them down, and the
Good time to invest. It's a good time to invest, and they can keep.
acting accordingly. And so there's a lot of suspicion, I'd say, a month ago that did members of Congress or anyone else have advanced notice of Trump's tariff announcements, and were they trading off of it? And the honest answer is I don't know. I don't know, because it's not like people who engage in insider trading go around and brag about it. But I know that the opportunity was 100% there, and so the trading activity around the tariffs, I think, got the media interested in it, and
Yeah.
that helped us get Hakeem and then Trump and Johnson, and it feels like things are just sort of accelerating. So we're going to keep our foot on the gas and try to keep the pressure on, but it feels like this is an issue whose time has come.
Oh, it's about time. And because there's a time we have to stand up for something that we believe in, and corruption has gotten one of the biggest ones. I guess the final thing I have to talk about, of course, is what you were working on. You're working on the big, beautiful bill, the ridiculous increasing the trade deficits, cutting people off of Medicaid. I can't imagine a scenario where any Democrat can support that idea. But what's interesting to me is you are seeing pushback somewhat over on the Senate side where most Republicans. I saw Ron Johnson be either angry about the trade deficit or the deficit going up, the record deficit going up, or Josh Hawley of all people, and I'm a Missourian, and Josh Hawley being against cutting Medicaid. I mean, where do you think this bill is going? And you're on a clock, aren't you, for this one?
Yep. So, I mean, this is a beautiful bill if you're a billionaire. And if you're a working person, it is absolutely devastating. They're going to cut millions of people off their health insurance, millions of people off of food assistance, sell off public lands, sell off public resources, all to pay for tax cuts for billionaires. And like the crazy thing is, they're going to cut $2 trillion from healthcare, from food assistance, etc. And even with $2 trillion of cuts, they're still going to explode the debt by like $4 trillion because they're giving even more in tax cuts to people who don't need it. And so, and these tax cuts, it's not just an extension of the status quo, like it's even more. Like they're going to exempt $30 million of inheritance from the estate tax. So like, if you're someone who's, going to inherit up to $30 million from, your parents, then like it's going to be tax free at the same time that we're going to be cutting millions of people off their health care. It's insane. Where is this bill going? I don't know. In the House, I can tell you one of the ironclad rules of politics that I have found as a member of the House of Representatives is that the moderate Republicans always fold. Like
Yeah.
moderate Republicans get rolled every time.
Every time, yeah.
They make a bunch of noise and then they just get bullied by their colleagues into submission. And that seems to be what's happening here on the House side. Like all of like the belly aching that you would hear from some of the moderates about, so-called moderates, about Medicaid or SNAP or whatever, like they all seem to be falling in line, unfortunately. The Senate, I hope, will be a different story. I hope that, the senators will show a little more independence and rework this bill. There is a sort of a deadline coming up, which is the debt ceiling deadline. It's July, so we've got to raise the debt ceiling to avoid a default, which would be a disaster economically. And so the Republicans are using that as like a forced deadline for their tax bill. But we can just do the debt ceiling without the tax bill, which is what we've always done. So, that's sort of it's a deadline, but it's a false deadline.
Right. And they're trying to pretend that it is to kind of to pressure you guys in the meantime. And there's the weird thing, back to your HLS committee. I mean, but we had an article come out last night, right, that Noem put in for $5 million Gulfstream in there too. I mean, it was funny seeing a number of your colleague, I think you did too, is it digging on her for her cosplay and her flying around the country and pretending to be, fireman, scuba diver. It's just, I don't know. I can't even keep track of the, all the different cosplay she's doing. And of course she wants a fancier jet to do it. And it's just, the priorities. I know you've been in Congress long enough. You were a teacher at one point. I mean, that to not even think of the average American when they're doing any of these has got to be it's got to be angering. If not, I always say frustrating of that.
These people are so out of touch. Like
Yeah.
everyone in his cabinet, they're all billionaires or multimillionaires.
Right.
It's just all grift all day long off of the backs of the taxpayers, and they expect working people to foot the bill. But I will tell you, like, as you've seen the numbers, like public opinion is turning sharply against them because this is not what people signed up for.
Yeah. I guess the last thing I'll ask, and I'll let you go. I know you're on a time crunch because of votes or anything else. The one thing we're definitely seeing out here is sort of I would say an uprising by rank and file Democrats or just average Americans. I was at a town hall with Pete Buttigieg in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We had 1,800 people there. Chris Murphy from your neighboring state came down here to St. Louis. We had 1,300 in the room for that. I mean, there's really a growing frustration amongst grassroots Democrats, others to see the action. Are you feeling that pressure up there? And do your colleagues realize that you're almost in a lot of ways kind of you're seeing a wave of frustration from your constituents, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. People are upset. They don't like what's going on. They expect Democrats to fight hard. I'm certainly doing my best to be like that foot soldier I can be in this fight for democracy. But no, this is a moment where we need a clarion call for people to step up for our Constitution and for our democracy. And we all have a responsibility as Americans to do that, in my view.
Well, that's great. Sure, I'm not gonna let you go. Where can people find out, more, learn about your agenda and everything else?
Yeah, thanks, Fred. Follow us on social media, just Rep Magaziner. We're on Instagram, we're on Blue Sky, we're on the other one,
all those places. Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time. I know it's a busy time on the Hill. Anytime I can get a hold of one of the members this time of year, I really appreciate it. So good luck. Keep up the fight, sir.
Thanks, Fred, and thanks for everything you do in the fight as well.
Appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Have you ever searched your name in Google or your address, put it in there? I know I do, and it's shocking what you'll find, how many results have your personal information. It's not by chance. Data brokers, people search sites, collect your personal information. They want your name, your address, your phone number, your financial information, your income, hundreds of other records, your address, where you live. They sell it, and they share it publicly without your consent. I know this personally. Maybe you make somebody mad on the internet and they look up your house. It's that easy and it's that scary. But Incogni is here to put an end to that. It hunts down these unethical sites and gets your info removed from places that expose your private information. You don't have to email anyone, fill out forms, jump through a bunch of hoops, just constantly work it in fear. A lot of times they handle the entire process for you. Now, Incogni continuously monitors your data is put back on these databases as well, requesting repeated removals. This way, it keeps that information out there forever because it sneaks back on, folks. You can't just do it one time. So this way, you'll get a lot less spam calls, spam emails, more peace of mind, and you won't worry about your family's safety or all the crazy things we're dealing with in this unusual time for our lives. Best of all, you can cancel anytime. They offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can get it completely risk-free, and I really recommend it highly, not just because they're a sponsor. It's a service that is important in this crazy time. I know right now you can get 60% off an annual plan by going to incogni.com and use code DEMOCRACY. That's incogni.com/democracy and use the code DEMOCRACY at checkout to get the discount code from here, FPWellman on Democracy. I'm telling you guys, this is a service you need. I'm a huge fan and a user. That's incogni.com/democracy. 60% off. Thanks for being a sponsor of the show. We really appreciate you. And thanks for this important service. I've got friends that own RVs and I've watched their trips. I watched them on social media and everything else. And I'm not gonna lie, I've had a little skepticism. I don't, it looks like fun and I've enjoyed my friends when I've hung out with them, but I don't want to park in a rest stop or a boring campground next to the highway, right? I'm looking for something different if I was going to go use my vacation days. And let me tell you something, you guys, I'm looking for something different as I approach my empty nest time because I'm about to be an empty nester and I am pretty excited about the ability to kind of travel the country and have our own way, visit the kids at college, wherever they may be. And I got to tell you, Harvest Host flips the script that I thought I knew. This podcast is sponsored by Harvest Host. And if you rent or own an RV, Harvest Host membership, which gets you unlimited, no fee, overnight RV stays at 9,500 locations across the United States and Canada. All you do is you simply sign up for $79 a year. You book your favorite destinations and enjoy unique RV stays all year long. I mean, forget, like I said, parking your RV at like a boring rest area. Harvest Host lets you stop overnight at amazing locations, you guys, like wineries and orchards, museums, farms, golfs, drive-in movie theaters, for God's sake. I was going through the website. I can't believe all the really cool places. It's really eye-opening, and I don't say that lightly. You can add adventure to your travels, all while discovering new destinations and supporting unique businesses across the country. I checked it all, as I mentioned, and I want to get an RV just to visit some of these places. I mean, come on. Wineries that let you stay out in the incredible property, or a farm in the mountains of Colorado that lets you see the stars because there's not a light for miles. Those are the kind of places. And I forget being near national parks or wherever you want to go. The list is insane. Alpaca farms, for God's sake. Harvest Hosts make trip planning easy with their mapping tool. You can filter by attraction, type, rig, the length of your trailer. You can add more to show you all your host locations on a route. You can plan your route across the country. All you have to do is pick your destinations and book. Most Harvest hosts will confirm you within 5 minutes. And with over 50,000 5-star reviews, you're sure to love your journey. Harvest Host lets you stay at breweries, wineries, distilleries. Okay, you heard that part, right? You can stay at breweries, wineries, and distilleries. Now, look, I know I'm focusing a lot on the drinking part, but as I mentioned, I'm about to be an empty nester, so I think it's okay. You can sign me up, man. So using Harvest Host to map out is such a relief. It map your trip. The host locations are vetted, safe, and well-reviewed, which means I can travel and you can travel with your family or just you with no worries. Head to harvesthost.com and use code FRED, F-R-E-D, for 20% off Harvest Host membership. Once again, that's a great deal, you guys. That's harvesthosts.com for 20% off, and make sure you use my promo code FRED so they know that I sent you. I'm not kidding. Check out the website, you guys. It's really cool. I'm Fred Wellman. Thanks, Harvest Host, for sponsoring our podcast today.
Conversation with Representative. There's just he's good dude. And he's good fighting the good fight. You saw in the video from the hearing, and of course this conversation. I mean, there's just so much. It's almost overwhelming sometimes to see what these guys are dealing with. And the fight goes on. And I guess that's what I want to circle back to for us in this last few minutes of the conversation is the fight does go on, and it is in our hands to do that fight. As you know, I'm part of the Unite for Veterans, Unite for America conversation. We'll be meeting on the National Mall on June 6th, D-Day, the anniversary of D-Day, the 81st anniversary of D-Day. I'm one of the organizers to be there, and that's a perfect example of what we're seeing. There's another protest the day before, and there's another one after. I mean, it is important that they hear our voices. And I can't emphasize that enough, how important it is that all of us step up at this moment and make sure that they hear our voices, on both sides, but especially our Republican colleagues. Look, Josh Hawley is not a soft politician, okay? Josh Hawley barely lives in Missouri, okay? Let's be honest. If you really know, he lives in Virginia. But he knows that cutting Medicaid is a political death trap for his party. And he should, because millions of Missourians rely on Medicaid. And as someone pointed out on the internet yesterday, it isn't just, people on Medicaid, they're going to suffer. One of these, I saw a post from a woman whose child has speech therapy. The speech therapy clinic closed because the Medicaid reimbursements were just too low for them to continue in business. And most of their work was with Medicaid. So when you cut Medicaid, or you cut eligibility, or you add requirements, less people get care. Doctors can't afford to stay in business. Therapists can't afford to stay in business. So Medicaid isn't just the people on it. Okay. It's all of us, and it affects all of us. So that's why we're meeting. That's why we're all standing up and doing our part. They have to hear from you. So even if you're not on Medicaid, even if you know someone is, I can guarantee you that most places you live, especially if you're in rural America, folks, I'm telling you right now, we are going to lose hospitals all over the country if they cut Medicaid by as much as they want to. The short-sightedness and idiocy of what they're doing will be permanent damage to our country. The moment we face is so crucial that you participate, that we participate. So get in the fight. If you're sitting on the sideline wondering if you should be part of it, I would argue you must be. You don't have a choice. I wish we had a choice. Or look, I wish we didn't live in this time. I wish I didn't have, look, I'm not a protest guy, y'all. If you know me at all, I do this. I talk, I write mean tweets. But even I'm out there at these town halls. I'm out there in the streets. I'm out there. I'll be there June 6th and D-Day, D-Day, as I mentioned, in Washington, D.C. in just 3 weeks. We're out there because that's what they have. They have to see us. We're not paid. Like I keep saying, we're not paid. We're pissed. And a lot of people are pissed. And that these elected representatives, and especially the Republican side, must know we will not sit idly by while they strip off us our rights and destroy our economy, destroy our democracy, and ignore the Constitution, be it the idea of suspending habeas corpus because there's an invasion of a prison gang. The idea that you're going to cut the main medical program for seniors and most babies that are being born is just patently ridiculous for no good reason, all so they can give tax breaks to billionaires. None of it's good. So I urge you, as always, to get in the fight, be a part of it, get on there, and let them hear your voices. As always, you can find me here every Friday night now at 7 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the Midas Touch Network. It's awesome. New time slot. We're thrilled to have you here with us. Of course, we'll show up every. I'm also on the Vote Vets channels. I'm also on Democracy channels. If you don't follow us on the On Democracy YouTube, I urge you to. You can find our Substack, FPWellman.substack.com. I would love for you to subscribe to our Substack. I'm actually running a sale right now. So if you want to be a paid subscriber, it's 25% off forever. It's a really great sale. I never run sales. I am actually going to have my very first subscriber Zoom, paid subscriber Zoom, in the next couple weeks. So if you're not subscribed to our Substack, I would love you to join us there. It's growing fast and getting better and better. That's fpwellman.substack.com. In the meantime, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to the Mighty. Congratulations to the Marcellus brothers and their incredible win, the Webbies. They continue to grow their following and continue to grow this network that we're all part of and creators for. So it's just a great time to be a part of the Midas Touch Network and all of you here with me. In the meantime, I am Fred Wellman. This is On Democracy, exclusive on the Midas Touch Network. We will see you again next week.